आकाशवल्लेपविदूरगोऽहम् आदित्यवद् भास्यविलक्षणोऽहम्.
After all, a seeker of truth is not a fool. This you should understand. If anybody has the good sense to seek the supreme reality, Brahman or the great Almighty, don't think that he is of a poor intelligence. The very conclusion that I have to seek the supreme reality in the world in order to fulfill my life, that conclusion is not a very ordinary one. So when he goes and prostrates before the Sadguru, expressing his need, I think it's a very, very rare and excellent occasion in life. This spiritual submission arises from a deep enquiry of the mind and heart. And such enquiry does not generally occur to people. Anyone who feels prompted, persuaded, compelled and led by such an enquiry, he cannot be an ordinary man. So his personality dimension will be very high and he will be a man of great quality. May not be he is in terms of literature, education, etc., he may not be very high. But this kind of an enquiry comes from a very great qualitative heart and intelligence. He said, I am approaching you. I prostrate before you and cast your merciful glance, he says. Why? He has got his own explanation. Durvara samsara devagni taptam dodhuyamanam duradrishtavadaihi bhitam prapannam paripahi mrutyoho sharanyamanyad yadaham najane. I don't find anybody in this world before whom I can seek refuge. What do you say about it? Have you come to such a decision in your life? We are all born in a very good family of a set of parents. They have loved us, looked after us. All the merits that we have practically come from our birth and also the environments that followed it. Both have been provided by the parents. So there is a lot of indebtedness that the child has, a son or a daughter has towards the parents. Suppose he finds himself intelligent, this intelligence also has been bequeathed to a very large extent by the parents. Being so, he now comes up to say that I don't find anybody in this world before whom I can seek refuge. What a great statement is this. What a lofty conclusion is it. It is not something very easy. And he has his own reason. I told you that we always liken our worldly life with a journey in the endless oceans. If we fall, as I said, upon the earth, the body will be available. Somebody will pick it up. But suppose we fall in water, we will go down. And nobody will be there anywhere at all. That kind of a feeling he has. Durvara samsara devagni taptam dodhuyamanam duradrishtavadaihi bhidam prapannam paripahi mrutyoho sharanyam anyat yadaham najane. Durvara samsara devagni taptam. Just see the manner in which it is described. I am constantly being scorched. One is that it is a journey in water. Another illustration he gives is that he is in the midst of a wildfire. Durvara samsara devagni taptam. I am being scorched, burnt. My body is blazing because of a huge wildfire. Devagni taptam. What is that fire? Samsara agni. The life in the world, worldliness or worldly life itself is acting like a huge wild forest fire. Samsara Dava Agni. It is extensive on all the four sides. It's all burning and scorching, burning and scorching. Even a fire brigade engine cannot come near. They will always keep away. Samsara Davagni Taptam Durvara. Durvara means it is unable to prevent. It is impossible to prevent it, escape from it. Dodhuyamanam duradrishtavadaihi. You know, whenever fire is ablaze, you will find wind rushes there. It is because of the atmospheric air pressure and other factors. They are very good friends, fire and wind. So from all the sides, Dodhuyamanam duradrishtavadaihi. I am being shaken by very violent and adverse winds. Dodhuyamanam duradrishtavadaihi. So what is my state? Bhidam prapannam paripahi mrityoho. Any moment I may die now. I may become lifeless. I may become life forces free. So it is very imperative that I should be protected. I am protected. Bhidam prapannam. I am extremely frightened. There is no help anywhere at all. The way a seeker looks at the world and arrives at a conclusion about it, this is the way. We consider the world to be a wild fire. Through all the senses, our body is being scorched. By sights through the eyes, by sounds through the ears, by smell through the nose, by taste through the tongue, and by touch through the skin. We are being scorched. You know, every time you interact with this world, the power of the senses is being corroded. Am I clear? The more and more you see, the power of the eyes to see is getting lesser and lesser and lesser. The more and more you eat, the same happens to the tongue, teeth, gum, etc. So living in this world, when looked at and evaluated in a proper manner, is actually wearing and tearing us. Bhidam prapannam. So I am immensely, greatly frightened. So I have come seeking refuge under you. Prapannam paripahi mrityoho. Any moment death may come. But before that I want you to protect me and save me and deliver me from the impending death. Sharanyam anyat yadaham na jane. Sharanyam anyat yadaham na jane. I don't find anybody in this world to give me any help, succour or timely protection. It is true that I am born of my parents. Maybe I have brothers and sisters. Maybe I have a family, my own children. But none of them is capable of protecting me from this impending death. This is the way a true seeker approaches the Guru. Then what will he do? He will go and catch hold of his hand and shake hands with him. What will be his attitude? His attitude will be one of extreme humility and humbleness. Bhidam prapannam paripahi mrityoho sharanyamanyad yadaham na jane. Can you imagine this? We are all born in our respective families. Our heredities are different. And there are people born with a silver spoon, platinum spoon, golden spoon, etc. With all these educational, professional and other merits. Can you tell me one point? Anyone in our family, is he or she able to liberate us from death? Every moment we are dying. Our medicinal science tells us that every day millions of cells are getting formed in the body. And millions of cells are being used up for the day's activity and life. So there is partial death in the body every day. Whatever body you have now, it is not the body you had day before yesterday. There is a change. The mind is constantly changing. The intelligence also is changing. Then what is there changeless? Change means what? extinction and disappearance of whatever is there and appearance of something new. So it is properly analyzed, death of the present and the dawn of the next moment. So our body is virtually dying and dying. So from this impending death, I want you to save me, my dear, honorable, revered sir. This is what he says. So when we speak of prostration, it has got great meaning. A good prostration is called to be Sashtanga Pranama. 8 parts of our body will touch the ground. 8 parts. That Sashtanga Pranama, it is actually an expression of the mind and heart of the individual. But physically, it is a great exercise, as I said, for the head and the body. This morning, I prostrated 12 times. And by the time I completed the prostration, I started sweating. Every day you prostrate, start it from 3, increase it to 6, maybe 9, and finally increase it to 12, 18 or 21. You will find you will have no backache problem at all. Will you do it? Very simple exercise. No backache at all. Simply prostrate. But prostrate fully. That Sashtanga Pranama should be done. After prostrating, raise your hands, close them up like this. Then get up. I have suggested this to a number of executives. Even in the office you do it if you have a chamber. Simply prostrate there. You don't require any formality, no seat, no asana. Nothing is required for that. In my young days, I used to prostrate. Wearing only a kaupina, a lenkoti, not lenkoti, our short kaupina, which I continue to wear even now. I never felt shy at all and nobody made fun of me when I did it. In the open ground, all people of the village seeing me do so. And there were Sundays when I must have prostrated maybe hundreds or even 1,000 times. What do you think of it? We don't want a guru in order to prostrate. We can prostrate ourselves anywhere. But if you get a guru, it's all the better. Srimad Bhagavata says, prostrate before everything. Kham vayumagnim salilam mahim ja jyodim shi satvani disho drumadin sarit samudramsha hare shariram yatkinja bhudam pranamet ananyaha. This is what Srimad Bhagavatam says. We generally prostrate without anybody seeing us. Going away. Because you are reluctant. Reluctant. There is reluctance in you. A feeling of self-respect. Such a great man, if I prostrate, what will others say? But spiritually and philosophically analyzed, this kind of a reluctance comes out of delusion and hidden pride. These are constrictions, psychological constrictions of the mind. The mind should be left completely loose and free. It has to be very free. What is spirituality and philosophy? Untying all the knots of the mind and heart. It is just like opening all the windows and doors of your house so that fresh air will enter. Nimi Chakravarti asked the 9 yogis who visited the yaga when he was performing a great yaga in Videhanagara. Seeing them, he understood how great they were. So he suddenly rose up from his seat. He was performing. He was the Yajamana of the whole sacrifice. And so many Ritviks, Acharyas and the others were present. It was a very rare, great, lofty ceremony ritual. All the people have come. Everything is going on well. Suddenly, unannounced, arrived 9 yogis. Understanding their greatness, he rose up from his seat, stopped the whole performance, welcomed them, washed their feet, made them sit, and he sat before them cross-legged. All the acharyas also came and sat before them. Then he asked, I am very happy that you have come. I feel extremely fortunate. My whole yaga has assumed an altogether different elevation now by your presence. Normally we are performing a yaga, calling deities who are never seen and who are never felt. Here suddenly, unexpectedly, 9 yogis have come. So he said, my yaga has become greatly fulfilled. I have only one question before you. Please let me know what are the Bhagavata Dharmas. What? Bhagavata Dharmas. Bhagavata means a devotee. Dharma means the characteristics, the thought pattern, the attitude pattern, the outlook, the behavior, the interaction of a devotee. Have you ever made such an inquiry? We only have a saligrama or a shivalinga in our home or a picture, and every day we collect or buy flowers and put them. Very good. At least that much you are doing. But has it occurred to you? Whom am I worshipping? What does the God want me to do? Am I a devotee? Is there any correction or improvement to be made in me? Where lies devotional sublimity, devotional purity, devotional elevation, devotional expansion, devotional enlightenment? Where does it lie? Who will tell me this? No God will ever tell you this. Either your own devotional mind will have to come up with the answers, or somebody enlightened in this path. So when he found an occasion, he suddenly submits himself and inquires about Bhagavata Dharmas. One of the yogis who started speaking in turn one after the other, one of them said, devotion should enlarge and expand the mind of the devotee. When we see a deity and we start worshipping, I am looking at the deity. When I look at the deity and my focus is on the deity, all around there is sky and space. There I don't find my God. I find Him only. So am I missing Him more or am I finding Him more? Boliye na thoda. I go to the sanctum sanctorum and I focus at a particular deity. So the surroundings are not God for me. The temple precincts are not God for me. I find my God only in the deity. Very good. That is how you should begin. When we start counting figures, I don't know, in my young age, finger was the medium. So the primary class teachers will say, 1, fold. If I don't fold, he will hit me. 1 is being said by the mouth, understood by the intelligence. But he wants me to fold the finger. So 2 plus 3, how much? 2 plus 3, 2 plus 3, 2 plus 3. 3, 4, 5. If I don't fold my finger, he was hitting me. Not that I have been hit. Then when I grow old, if he asks me, 12 by 13 how much? Or 12 by 6 how much? If I fold my finger, then also he will hit me. Initially for not folding, later on for folding. So it is to begin with very good. Devotion is on the deity, in the temple, etc. But as a devotee, you should grow. So he starts speaking what? Kham vayumagnim salilam mahim cha. Your devotion should start enlarging and expanding. It should expand to what? Kham, sky. What? We have carved a stone idol or a wood idol or an earth clay idol. Clay, wood or stone, all of them are extracted from the earth. The earth is a very small mustard-like planet in the huge world. Where are all the planets and the heavenly bodies hovering? Within the womb of space. So the space was first. Thereafter alone all these planets came. And finally a small portion from the earth got broken. It became cooled and it became the earth and we are living upon it. Take your imagination further and further and further. and go to the sky. Come, sky. Vayumagnim, next is Vayu, air. Agni, fire. You don't understand what I say? Yes. Come Vayumagnim, Salilam Mahimja. Then water. Mahimja. Then the earth. So earth comes as the fifth. And our idol comes what? These are man-made idols. What? When we make a temple, it is our temple architecture. Our deity. It is the sculptor who makes it. And he makes it out of a small piece of stone. What about the rock? What about the mountain? What about the earth? These are all God-made. The God-made things are not deities for us. But the man-made items are deities. Tell me whether you find a contradiction there or not. But it is very good. It is necessary. Because if I start explaining this, even children and elderly people may not understand me. Kam vayumagnim salilam mahimja jyodimshi sattvani disho drumadin. Jyodimshi, all the luminaries in the sky. Sattvani, so many different types of beings. Disho drumadin, all the 8 directions. Drumadin, trees, plants, herbs, creepers and what not. Sarit, the rivers. Samudramsha, the oceans. Have you understood? All these are Hare Shariram. All these are together constituting God's body. Yat kincha bhudam pranamed ananyaha. Understanding that this is so, elevating your mind from the deity to the whole universe, and understanding that everything is equally constituting the visible body of God whom I worship. Pranamed ananyaha. Prostrate before everything, everyone. You may not physically prostrate, but mentally you must be able to prostrate. This is how the devotional characteristics are explained. My dear souls, expand your mind, elevate your mind. Grow from the half-an-hour worship to a 24-hour unbroken worship. What? If your act of half an hour can become a worship, why not your act of 24 hours become a worship? Why are you becoming a miser, kanjus? Because you are not prepared for it. I want only half an hour worship. 23 and a half hours, I want to do what I like. And invariably my God does not approve of it. So I will restrict my worship to half an hour. You see, every time we open the puja room, what do we say? My dear God, please come here. I have finished my puja. I close the door. Leave me to myself and remain where you are. This is what we are saying. See, we don't want God to come after us, to be with us. When the telecast began, that Mukti Sudhakaram, the thoughts of the telecast were filling my mind. I first of all composed about 12 or 18 verses. They were in Malayalam. See, so far I have been talking to a crowd who is visible before me, who are seated. Now I have to talk to an unseen crowd, and that too for a long time. Many episodes it could be. So this is an altogether new mission. So in order to do that well, my dear Krishna, you have to be with me, I said. In order to do it well, be with me, make sure. So far as my preference is concerned, I always like to make people think. What? The entire world, it is beautiful, it is alluring, it is enchanting, it is fascinating. So if we have a fascinating world or a fascinating object in our front, our eyes which show that it is a fascinating object, and our mind which makes the eyes see the object, My intelligence which is able to discriminate and make it beautiful and enchanting. Tell me which is more beautiful, the object seen or the eye seeing, or the mind that enables the eyes to see, the intelligence which makes you discriminate and understand. Which is more beautiful? Have you ever thought of it? The moment we see an object like moth, we run into it. Which is more beautiful? A mind which can host a whole universe. The body is very limited. Inside the limited body, you are perceiving and hosting a whole universe in the form of an impression. Impression. Tell me whether the world or the universe is greater, or the mind that hosts it greater. थोड़ा बोलिए ना सोच कर. If I take 100 liters of water and keep it in a tank, the tank must have sufficient space to keep the 100 liters of water. So if my mind contains a universe, that container mind should be slightly at least bigger than the universe. But we have no appreciation for the mind. And we are enchanted and hoodwinked by what we see outside. So my dear Krishna, I always like to tell people about the greater glory of their own inside. Keep it in mind. Say, when I start discussing, mostly I speak about Krishna and Krishna's Gospels, either Bhagavad Gita or Bhagavata or things like that. Similarly, Upanishads also. I always want to speak and explain about them in the manner in which the authors themselves would have felt and wanted. So one of my listeners, one of my viewers, he has written, Swamiji, we never knew of a Srimad Bhagavatam of this kind. We have heard a number of Saptahams. Kerala is a land of Saptahas. You don't know, hundreds of Saptahams are held in Kerala every day. And there are so many exponents. It has almost become a profession now. Somebody accompanies an exponent, a teacher, a Saptaham conductor, and he goes along with him for 2 years or 3 years and he becomes an exponent. Very easy to get a certificate. This is what is happening in Kerala. And they are doing it well, I should say. So we never heard of a Srimad Bhagavatam like this. We feel Shukamuni and Vedavyasa themselves are speaking. We have never seen Vedavyasa Maharshi, but we now see how he speaks. Such remarks also are there. So I always want to deliver the message in the manner in which Krishna himself would have wanted it. Whenever I speak on Bhagavad Gita, that is my intention. I never try to torture the text, twist the text, nothing like that. I speak whatever is there. I have written a few pages on Uttarayana and Dakshinayana. Uttarayana and Dakshinayana. Sri Krishna makes a reference in Bhagavad Gita about Uttarayana and Dakshinayana. I think Vivekananda Swami sometimes has said, this particular reference, description by Krishna, even now it is not explained and understood. I happened to read it when I was in Calcutta in my pre-sannyasa days. At that time, that went into my heart. I never thought that I would write on Bhagavad Gita or explain it. So when I came to the Uttarayana and Dakshinayana portion, I gave an explanation. Generally, Uttarayana is referred to as the northward journey of the sun, 6 months. And Dakshinayana is the southward journey. I say it can never be. First of all, the sun never journeys. What? And our understanding is wrong. And how do you divide the whole full year into Uttarayana and Dakshinayana, saying that one is holy and the other is not holy? Let the sun go northward and never return. So he has to return in order to go again. So how can you say returning is bad and going is good? If you go on a pilgrimage, you go and you come back. Coming back is sinful and going alone is virtuous. These are all half-digested ideas of people. So the word Uttara means lift up, elevate. So Uttarana means that by virtue of which you are elevated. And Dakshina means going around and around and again. Pradakshina means what? So the Dakshinayana path is the path of ignorance, delusion and repetition. Uttarayana path is the path of light, wisdom and elevation and fulfillment. This is the explanation in short I have given. I think one day it will become known and people will understand. No, at least a few thousands of people have read it and nobody has written to me saying that this is wrong. Some have acknowledged that this is very elevating, we never thought. Even Bhishma was lying on the battleground, Kurukshetra, waiting for Uttarayana to come. So, what about the people who are dying in Dakshinayana? People will have to die in both ayanas. And there is a prayaschitta done when people die in Dakshinayana. Now, this is the ignorant path, the delusional path, the distortional path. The path of elevation is everything is God. Godliness alone is there. Whether you fall in the house or in the hospital or in the road by an accident or by an incident, it makes no difference at all. We are dying on the lap of God. Can you think in this manner? Boliye na? I don't think. If you want to think, I am happy. Let my body drop anywhere, as Shankara has written. Kulyayam athanadyam va shivakshetre pi chatvare parnam patati chettena taroh kimnu shubhashubham. There is a tree. A number of leaves are there. One leaf happens to fall. Where? Kulyayam athanadyam va. It may be in a dirty drain. Or maybe in a holy river. Shivakshetre, maybe a Shiva temple. Chatvare, the four-road crossing point. Parnam patati chettena, if the leaf falls there, the leaf has already left the tree and it is falling somewhere. Wherever it falls, is the tree affected? Thoda boliye na. Huh? Are? Huh? Wherever it falls, what does the tree have to do with it? It has already got disconnected. Taroh kimnu shubhashubham. For the tree, what holiness or unholiness, what piety or non-piety will be there? Similarly, you must have the path of enlightenment by which you say, let my body drop anywhere. What? My body is dropping, is it not? So when it drops, it is disconnected from me. In whatever manner it is treated, in what way am I affected? Huh? I remove a shirt and throw it away and you burn it. You mean to say, I am getting burned? This is the path of enlightenment. Can you catch it? I don't think. See, this is called Uttarayana. It is a path of wisdom. Here is a man who says, I have no refuge anywhere in this world. You alone are. I am being scorched all around by the wild fire. Please cool me. This is what he says. Cool me. Cool me. I am being scorched. You know, we are all born differently. With a number of merits, skills, excellences and what not. Our ego will not allow us to say that I am being scorched by the wildfire. I don't find any refuge at all. So if one person is able to say so, that man is the greatest according to our estimation. When he goes to the Guru, what will he do? He can only prostrate and register his humility. And this prostration, though physical, it starts in the physical level. I mentioned to you all about it. Ultimately, you are supposed to prostrate before the whole universe. The whole universe. Pranamed ananyaha. So try to get up. Get up. From the small and short identification of the deity and the picture, my dear souls, you are all devotees, very good devotees. But don't be constricted in your devotional approach. We have to go to the temple, we have to worship there sincerely, zealously, wholesomely, feelingfully. Don't talk within the temple any household matters. Don't start greeting people there. Go there. The moment you enter the precincts of the temple, only God's name should sing, should dance in your mouth and heart. Nothing else. If you start going to temple in this manner, you may not have to go many days there. Maybe 3 or 4 or 6 months. By the time that devotional sublimity will come to you, and you will start feeling, my deity is only representing my God. And my God is universal in dimension. So my linkage must be with the universal God. With the universal God. With the universal God. The deity helps me in my constricted level, in my low level, in my kindergarten level. In English there is a proverb, it is good to be born in a church, but it is not good to die in a church. So we need the temple, but the temple has to be approached tenderly, devotionally, heartily, feelingfully, fondly, dedicatedly. What do you mean by worship? You are taking flowers every day. If you are able to take the flowers, clean them up and offer them, I don't think you can offer many times. Once, twice. Your hand will stop. It will not move. When devotion grips you, it will not move. It's a question of feelingfulness. You must have the feeling. A tender worship you must do. So I find a lot of culture in this statement. Bhitam prapannam paripahi murtyoho. Srimad Bhagavata puts it in this manner. Gurur na sasyat swajano na sasyat. Pita na sasyat janani na sasyat. Daivam na tatsyat. Na patischa sasyat. Namo jayedya samupeta mrutyum. You are all one member or another of your family. And this is what Srimad Bhagavata says. Right in the beginning, the Srimad Bhagavata author says that I am discussing the supreme truths in a very naked manner, without any fear, favor or shyness. Openly declaring. This is one such declaration. Gurur na sasyat, svajano na sasyat. We have got a number of associations. The Guru is not a Guru. What? Your Guru is not a Guru. Gurur na sasyat, svajano na sasyat. Your relative or friend is not a relative at all. Pita na sasyat. The father is no father. Janani na sasyat. The mother is no mother. What more? Daivam na tatsyat. The object of worship called God, the deity or the picture, is no God at all. Na patischa sasyat. The husband is no husband. When Namo jayedya samupeta mrutyum. If he is not able to deliver you from the impending death, from the clutches of death, if he is not able to deliver you, then he is not a Guru. The object of worship is not God. The husband is no husband. The mother is no mother. The father is no father. The friend or the relative is no friend. Until he is able to liberate you from the hard clutches of death. This is what Bhagavata says. What do you say? How many people, how many of you have a right to become father? According to Srimad Bhagavatam. If you give birth to a child, you are the Brahma of the child. Be sure that you can show your child the path of liberation. Unless you are able to do so, Bhagavata doesn't give you the status of a father. And similarly, a guru must be able to liberate the shishya from the clutches of death. Otherwise, he is not a guru. Let him resign his portfolio and go away. The deity also will not be a deity unless it is able to give you the message of liberation. What a great statement. You don't like it? Boliye na. Do you like or dislike it? So he goes and approaches. He doesn't find anybody. He has a father, he has a mother, he has a wife, he has a husband. It is a she has a husband. All these people are not able to fulfill his requirement. So he goes to the Guru. And you know what is this Guru type? A beautiful description. Shanta mahamto nibhasanti santo vasantaval lokahitam charantaha tirna swayam bhima bhavarnavam janan ahedunanyanapi tarayantaha. The real preceptors, the gurus of our land, they are like this, he says. Shanta mahamto nivasanti santo.
Shanta mahanto nivasanti santo.
Shanta mahamto nivasanti santo.
Shanta mahanto nivasanti santo.
Vasantaval lokahitam charantaha.
Vasantavallokahitam charantaha.
Vasantavad
Vasantavat
lokahitam charantaha.
Lokahitam charantaha.
Tirna swayam
Tirna swayam
bhima bhavarnavam janan.
Bhima bhavarnavam janan.
Ahedunanyanapi
Ahetunanyanapi
tarayantaha.
Tarayantaha.
Shanta mahamto nivasanti santo.
Shanta mahanto nivasanti santo.
Vasantaval lokahitam charantaha.
Vasantavallokahitam charantaha.
Tirna swayam bhima bhavarnavam janan.
Tirna swayam bhima bhavarnavam janan.
Ahedunanyanapi tarayantaha.
Ahetunanyanapi tarayantaha.
This is a verse I like very much. Its meter, the words used, the alliteration that is contained there. Shanta mahamto nivasanti santo. Santaha. I think this word is very much in the north. We never use it. We call it very rarely sajjanas. Sant. The Mahatmas are there. Santaha. They alone are really living in this world. All the others are dying. They alone are all the others are asantaha. Shanta mahamto nivasanti. They are really people nivasanti. They are not merely living. They are living in a benevolent manner, helping the others, being a shadow to the others, being a support, a succour to the others. All the others are selfish to the core. What? Selfish to the core. Without selfishness, there is nothing in a household. Yajnavalkya tells Maitreyi, what? Na patyuhu kamaya padih priyo bhavati. If a woman loves her husband, it is not for the sake of the husband. It is because he is my husband. What? Huh? It is my husband. So are you loving your minus or are you loving the husbandness? Na patyuhu kamaya padih priyo bhavati. Na jayayaha kamaya jaya priya bhavati. If you love your wife, it is because she is my wife. The moment she becomes different, I have no love for her. Atmanaha kamaya sarvam priyam bhavati. Everything is loved because we love. I like it, therefore I love it. Suppose I dislike it, I don't love it. Everyone's love is restricted, limited, conditioned, to the extent it is pleasing and delightful to him. Where is the person who is loving the whole universe? Because just like I am a member of my house, just like I am a member of my family. My family is a member of the society. The society is a member of the nation. The nation is a member of the globe. And the globe itself is a member of the wider universe. So when are you going to lift your identity from that household member identity to the universal identity? Kabhi hota hai kya? Huh? Boliye na. Why are you keeping quiet? Have you told your child, you are born of me, my dear child, but you are a citizen of the country and the world? And the world. Has any mother told the child, you are my child, you should give me the last water? This is what we are saying. Selfishness alone to the core. How can they be Mahatmas? Shanta Mahamto Nivasanti Santo. These are the great people who live in this world, beautifully, ornamenting, decorating, enriching, empowering, enlightening, blessing the world. Mahantaha, because they have a great aim, a great goal in life. Others have what kind of an aim? Customary and conventional. Somehow I must find a job. And I must have some saving, by hook or crook. Then at least one building, preferably 2 for my 2 sons. This is our feeling. Nothing beyond. Finally, what are you going to do? Occupy perhaps about 7 feet of earth in the cremation ground. इतना ही तो होता है, इससे अधिक क्या है? कुछ तो नहीं है. So many people have lived and so many people have died and gone. I am also going to be added to that list. You don't know your grandfather's father. Do you think your grandson's son will know you? Huh? You tell me. Who was your grandfather's father? How was he looking? What all he did? कुछ तो हम नहीं जानते हैं. तब हमारी कहानी कौन सुनेगा? बोलने के लिए कौन रहेगा? थोड़ा सोच लीजिए ना. Whereas Shankara wrote this Viveka Chudamani text 1200 years back, and we are studying it so studiously and assiduously now. Suppose he had constructed 2 buildings, he had got married. It would have been demolished at least 10 years, within 10 years after his death. Nobody has been able to demolish it. It is still there. Shanta Mahamto Nivasanti Santo. They are the people who have Shanti, Shantaha. The word literally means Shamaguna Anvidaha. Theirs is the mind from where no desire ever sprouts. They have nothing like possessiveness, desirefulness, and ego. The 3 things to be dropped from the human mind to be enlightened is desire, possessiveness, and ego. When that possessiveness and desirefulness, both of them go away, one becomes Shanta. Shanta Mahamto Nivasanti Santo Vasantavad Lokahidam Charantaha. They are the people who promote, sustain, and further and reinforce the felicity, the welfare of the society. What? The welfare of the society. Vasantavad, like the spring season. What does the spring season do? The wind of the spring season starts blowing, collecting fragrance from so many different flowers and other areas, and they start spreading. The wind starts spreading it to places where the fragrance is not. Similarly, collecting the beautiful truths and essences from so many scriptures and similar accounts. They collect them, and they start spreading it before an attentive crowd, a listening crowd. The spring season does it with no intention at all. It simply does it naturally, as a natural sequence or a flow. In the same manner, they have the great and the unique and the much desired self-knowledge, self-realization. Having gained it in abundant measure, the knowledge starts overflowing from their brain, overflowing from their system. And wherever people need it and ask for it, they liberally, wholeheartedly shed it. Like the Vasanta Rudu, the Vasanta Maruta. Vasantavallokahitam charantaha. Now this is the background of human life, a good human life. When the Delhi professor came and asked me, what is the purpose of human life? I felt that he was not one who was fit enough to know it. The purpose of human life is to become a Vasanta Rudu, a Vasanta Maruta. Be like that. Shed all your selfishness. Live in this world, decorating it, ornamenting it, benefiting it, beautifying it, relieving it, ennobling it, enlightening it. Acquire, gain whatever you want for the purpose. Undergo whatever austerity is necessary. Do it. Be ascetic if you want. Be learned if you so want. But the whole development is a hearty development. The heart should become Mangalatma. It should become auspicious. Drop ideas of my family, my children, my grandchildren. अरे कितने हो गए हैं? सभी की कहानी एक समान है. फिर भी, as a poet has said, कांतायि मे तनयायि मे गृहायि मे पशवस्तु मे एवं नरो मेष समान रूपः एवं नरो मेष समान रूपः मे कृतः कालवृगेण नीतः. In Sanskrit, when you say me, its meaning is that mine. So he says, Kantayi me tanayayi me. These wives are mine. These children are mine. Grihayi me. These buildings are mine. Pashavastvi me. The animals, all these are mine. Evam naro, in this manner. Evam naro. Mesha samana rupaha. Who will always say meh, meh? Goat. So the goat is saying meh, meh, meh. And when it was producing this sound, it was announcing its identity. Suddenly, Kalavrgena nidaha. Time in the form of wolf comes and catches hold. Bas, chala gaya. This is our fate. Evam naro mesha samana rupaha. Meme krida Kalavrgena nidaha. Every one of you is going to end your life like that. Meh. This is it. See, let us shed this. Let us be something different. Let your heart be sublime. Everyone is born in a family, we know. We have to be born in a family. But your mind need not remain constricted in the family. As are your children, so are all the children in this world. As are the people dear and near to me, so are all the people in this world dear and near. So from the family life you should have an expansion, an enlightenment. What happens? The reverse happens. Vasantavallokahitam charantaha tirna swayam bhima bhavarnabam janan. They first of all make their efforts and cross the ocean of worldliness. After having crossed it, they become fit enough, equipped enough to lead the others also. Here is a boat, very stable boat. I am going to command it. Come, enter into it. I will take you across. Tirna swayam bhima bhavarnabam janan. This world is an ocean. Bhima, bhava, arnava. Arnava means ocean. Bhava means worldliness or world. Bhima means fierce, stupendous, imposing. Having crossed this Bhima, Bhavarnava, Ahetunanyan abhitarayantaha. They always help the others to go across. And in so doing, they have no special motivation. They have no special desire. They have got the capacity, they have got the mind, they have got the compassion, they have got the felicity to offer. Therefore they do it. No motivation is there at all. See, when we went to United States, we spoke to a white crowd. It was arranged by Adult School of Montclair. They put a price for the talk. I was told by Pankaj, I said, I'm not happy at all, but what can we say? So we left the matter at that. But even now it is irking. It is aching me. See, I would like to spend my lifetime, the remaining time, without putting any charge for what we do. If we were to put a charge, it will be in crores and crores, multi-crores. See, whatever we do should be a free offering. Of course, people also offer something. They offer thousands, 10,000, lakhs also, very good. There is no objection at all. See, we have received an offering from somebody in Bombay. It is 1.25 lakhs of rupees. Nothing he has written, his name and address alone are known. We don't know why he has sent that money. The assumption is that the inner spiritual splendor, Disha channel telecast, he must have heard, and it must have been an offering for that. We assumed, and we have written a receipt in this manner. But it's an offering. We never stipulated saying that this much is the charge for what I do. Even I think it's absolutely unthinkable for a sage. We have left everything. Our income producing effort, everything we left. House, blood relations, everything is left. After that, what is it that we are going to offer? We have nothing to offer. If we speak, it's a natural flow, that's all. So, ahetunanyanapi tarayantaha. When I read all these things, I would like to embody it in myself. Otherwise, I don't read. Whatever I read it only when it has a relevance to me. And relevance means I must be like that. Otherwise, I don't read. Even if I read, I will pass it off, bypass. Ahetunanyanapi tarayantaha. So if at all I speak to you out of a natural sequence of matters. What else shall I do? Ma always tells me that you are overexerted. I say, Ma, what do? I only speak and write. Nothing else I do. So where is the overexertion? I either speak or I write. Only 2 items of work I do in my life. Either speak or write. And write sitting upon a chair, on the computer, or otherwise I dictate, etc. Or I speak, meet people and talk. So understand it. This is the culture of our land. This is the cultural greatness of our land. Cultural majesty of the land. I use 3 words. Characteral elegance, behavioral majesty, and interactional excellence. This is the message that I have to give to the people. In character, be elegant. In behavior, be majestic. And in interactional life, you be excellent. Do not be second to anybody in this world. Be first, without any competition.